DWayne Eskridge is the perfect fit for the Seahawks offense moving forward. Josiah,
What's up?
roll the clip.
Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah, here comes the.
If you're new to this channel, my name is Calvin-Domingo, aka Steezy Smith, and if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button for us, join the family. Be sure to also leave us a like, drop a comment if you enjoyed, and to keep up to date with the latest in the sports world, be sure to follow us at Steezy Smith on all social media platforms. Last but not least, if you want to cop yourself a special and exclusive limited edition Team Steezy hat, well, be sure to send us a DM or comment down below. Let us know where your size is. Or if you want a snapback, be sure to comment that down below. And we will be taking orders from here on. So let us know if you want to cop one of these. Without further ado, you're tuning to Steezy Smith, and let's get to cooking. Contrary to popular belief, in my personal estimation, I truly don't believe that DWayne Eskridge from Western Michigan is the reach that everyone is making him out to be at number 56 overall for the Seattle Seahawks. And for what it's worth, John Schneider did talk about how they had a trade to move down at number 56, but at the last minute, the trade fell through. But seeing as how DWayne Eskridge is a true speed demon, he runs a 4.38 40, and he's one of the fastest receivers in his class, well, he fits exactly what we need in the Seattle Seahawks locker room, especially at the wide receiver position. Now, with Shane Waldron coming over from LA, he could use Eskridge in that Robert Woods type of role where you could have him line up pre-snap and kind of be in motion. Shane Waldron coming over from LA, he could use DWayne Eskridge in that Robert Woods role. And what I mean by that is he could line up DWayne Eskridge all across the formation. He could be in pre-snap motion, and he could line up in the slot. He could play on the outside, and he could play, or he can come in on gadget plays like end arounds, jet sweeps, which the Seahawks offense really hasn't used in years past, which is kind of weird, seeing as how DK Metcalf is one of the fastest receivers in all of planet Earth. I mean, look at him. He's competing for the Olympics. He's competing to compete in the 100-meter dash, and so maybe Shane Waldron is able to unlock that aspect of DK's game. But going back to DWayne Eskridge, he brings so many things to the table. You look at the Seahawks offense in the second half of last season, how they faltered tremendously down the stretch. Well, you can only do so much with DK and Tyler, and while the Seahawks do feature the best wide receiver duo in the NFL with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, well, far often than not last season, there just wasn't a reliable third option. And no disrespect to David Moore, but DWayne Eskridge is an upgrade over David Moore at this stage in his career. And yes, he might be 24 years old, which might limit his upside, but he's still a rookie. This is going to be his first year in the NFL. He's never played before, and while he might be a little undersized at 5'9", which just so happens to be my height, and about 190 pounds, well, that's not going to stop him from succeeding in the NFL. He's drawn comparisons to Antonio Brown, and as unfair as that might be, well, I don't think people are just going to throw out the name Antonio Brown with this guy, DWayne Eskridge. He's a true threat. He's going to beat you down deep. He's going to be able to outmuscle and outrun anyone on the football field, and he might not be the best route runner, seeing as how his route tree is limited. Last season, when you look at what he did for Western Michigan, in only 6 games, he had more total touchdowns than games played with the Western Michigan Broncos. He had 768 yards in, and he had the best season of his career, of his 5-year college career to date. And if the season was a full season last season instead of 6 games, well, if those numbers were extrapolated, he would have provided over 1,400 yards and a whole bunch of touchdowns. And so I'm not going to look at his lack of production in college as a major red flag. But what he brings to the table on offense for the Seahawks is really a lot more important than what people think. We didn't really have a reliable wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 after the departure of David Moore. And while I'm confident, and while the Seahawks are confident in Freddie Swain's ability to come in and provide an impact, well, this team simply needs more pass catchers. When you look at the reigning Super Bowl champions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from last season, do you think they would have won the Super Bowl without the addition of Antonio Brown, who had a touchdown in the Super Bowl? They had other pass catchers in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, but what happens when the defense takes your top 2 options away? In Seattle's case, well, the offense faltered completely down the stretch. The Seattle had one of the best offenses in the first half of last season to having one of the worst offenses statistically in the second half of last season. More often than not, when DK and Tyler was taken away, Russell Wilson didn't have any options to really throw to. David Moore was okay, but I just don't see him as the 3rd best receiver on a Super Bowl winning team. And now going back to DWayne Eskridge and what he brings to the field, not only that, but he's a willing run blocker. And that was actually one of the things that probably drew the appeal of Pete Carroll and John Schneider. They look for guys, physical receivers that could also run block. And while DK Metcalf isn't the embodiment of a wide receiver that fits the mold of what Seattle wants in the receivers in terms of capabilities as a run blocker, well, DWayne Eskridge provides just that. He's physical at the point of attack, and going back to his route running, like I said, his acceleration is second to none. He has a great first step, and he led all receivers in his draft class, yes, even over Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Jamar Chase, in yards per route run with 4.94 according to Pro Football Focus. And though he did play in the MAC conference, well, he dominated competition last season, like I said earlier, with 768 yards, 8 touchdowns, and he averaged over 23 yards a catch. And so when you look at what Shane Waldron wants to do in Seattle, he wants to emphasize yards after the catch. He wants to emphasize shorter and quicker reads for Russell Wilson, two of the things that we just haven't seen in Seattle the last couple of years. And so not only that, DWayne Eskridge is going to provide huge value on special teams as well, kick returner, punt returner, because we don't want Tyler Lockett running all those kick returns, punt returns, and adding more strain and damage to his already heavy workload. And so when you bring in a guy like DWayne Eskridge, and you look at another draft prospect in Trey Brown in the 4th round, corner from Oklahoma, he also brings versatility as a defender and as a guy who can provide value on special teams. And when you look at the lack of draft capital that the Seahawks had this past draft season, well, that adds all the more value out of DWayne Eskridge, given the fact that he could provide in another phase of the game on special teams as well as offense. Not only that, with DWayne Eskridge, he could play in the slot, like I said earlier. He could play on the outside. Tyler Lockett could also play in the slot, but he's better suited to play on the outside. And what Seattle has been sorely missing in the last couple of seasons is a slot receiver that can create separation, that's quick, that's shifty at the line of scrimmage, a guy that could give Russell Wilson more of a security blanket, a guy that Russell Wilson can also target deep, a guy that Russell Wilson can also go to in the intermediate routes, and a guy that Russell Wilson can also throw to on a bubble screen, and a guy that can take it to the hole. And so when you bring in a wide receiver core with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and DWayne Eskridge, all guys that run 4.4 or sub 4.4 40s, well, we have pretty much a track meet in the Seattle Seahawks wide receiver room. And so DWayne Eskridge, I think he's a perfect fit for the system. Seahawks have been one of the worst teams in all of football the last couple of seasons in terms of yards after the catch. They're ranked near the bottom, despite some of the talent that they've featured on offense. And meanwhile, on the other end of the spectrum, the Rams with Shane Waldron have featured some of the best offenses in terms of yards after the catch. And so this season, expect a whole lot of yak attack from the Seahawks wide receivers. Expect a whole lot more quick slants, post routes, little quick, short, intermediate reads and routes from Russell Wilson to DK, Tyler, and most notably DWayne Eskridge. Seeing as how Russell Wilson has one of the best deep balls in all the NFL, well, DWayne Eskridge fits just like white on rice. With that being said, let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think of the selection of DWayne Eskridge? Predict his stats for the upcoming season, and do you think that he's the perfect fit for the offense, or do you think that Seattle should have gone in a different direction? Do you think they should have taken Terrace Marshall from LSU, or do you think they should have gone offensive line in the 2nd round? Let us know in the comments down below. While that concludes this video, we got loads of other content coming for you guys. We have draft profiles coming in the next couple of days for each of the prospects that Seattle drafted in this draft season. While Seattle only had 3 picks, well, we might also go into some of the other undrafted free agents that the Seahawks picked up. And nothing but love. Steezy out.